All right, good morning. Thank you for joining us and welcome to October's session of the Indiana's Disabilities and Conditions of Aging virtual network. I'm Jeremy Warner. Walking Spirit is my organization. I provide accessible DEI and belonging consulting and support to any organization that serves the public in any way, and also ADA training, public speaking services, and for any individual or family affected by disabilities, a quality of life, adaptability, and advocacy coaching, which begins with a complimentary conversation meant to connect people with disabilities to all of you, to the different support services that are out there, helping to make our world more inclusive and accessible for people with disabilities. So, with that in mind, I have been on quite the 11-day road trip, actually 15 days for me. Although we wound up cutting that short, so we probably are at about 11 days. From what began for me at the April conference in Chicago, the uh, the Association for Programs on Rural Independent Living, and that was a fascinating experience, leading into then a vacation with my wife as we drove from Indianapolis to first outside of Pittsburgh, then Salem, Massachusetts, then Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, and drove through the White Mountains, and then spent the 19th anniversary of my survival day, the day that I survived the car accident that was my entry to the world as a person with a disability, becoming a burn survivor and a bilateral above knee amputee. Um, we wound up celebrating that in a little resort by a lake in the mountains in West Virginia that we literally found the night before, and it was a fantastic experience. And then cut our drive a little bit short and came home yesterday, and happy to be here with all of you. What I can tell you from that drive is that there are places that are more accessible than you would think, and yet still absolutely not accessible, and continuing to run into the exact same problems in every hotel, whether it's something that hasn't been updated since the 80s or something that was just built last year. I keep seeing the same problems over and over again, typically because people with disabilities were not consulted in the approach to being ADA compliant. So that's my spiel. There is one exciting thing that took place today. Well, that I found out about this morning as I was brushing my teeth. Irena said, Jeremy, and she came in and she read me something, and I don't know if she has shared it with me yet or not. Um, yeah, here we go. So this is exciting news for people with disabilities. Um, I believe this happened yesterday. The Department of Transportation reached a record settlement of 50 million with American Airlines, whose damage to wheelchairs and dangerous physical assistance to disabled passengers has broken laws. Senator Tammy Duckworth, Democrat of Illinois, who lost both legs in combat in the Iraq War, praised the fine and commented, quote, when an airline damages or breaks someone's wheelchair, it's like breaking their legs. And then this quote is from Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. The era of tolerating poor treatment of airline passengers with disabilities is over. With this penalty, we are setting a new standard of accountability for airlines that violate the civil rights of passengers with disabilities. By setting penalties at levels beyond the mere cost of doing business for airlines, we are aiming to change how the industry behaves and prevent these kinds of abuses from happening in the first place. So that's exciting news for anybody who ever travels with any kind of assistive device. Um, and pleasure to share that if folks were not already aware. So That in mind, there's nobody necessarily doing a spotlight today, so I am just going to pass it on. And please, last time we tried something new where I asked folks to name whoever would go next. And we can do that again if you guys appreciated that. But please ask questions of each other, engage in conversation. The whole goal of this network is to talk about the things that are impacting people with disabilities in our communities and the things that we have going on to support that work and ways that we can partner together. So um, that said, Sonia Eisenhart from Accessibility, would you like to start us off?
Can we have someone else go? I just had lights go out.
Okay, fair enough. Then Tim Vermand, fill us in on what's going on from your perspective.
Well, what's going on in my perspective is a lot of OT that's driving me up the wall, so to speak, trying to regain the use of my hand after this wrist surgery, as well as regain a sense of normalcy in my leg and hip, which were affected by their search for parts, so to speak. But I also read that news about American Airlines with great interest because I'm one of the people who are affected by that. And it was Frontier and not American that broke my wheelchair, but still, it's a very casual attitude that they have toward this sort of thing. Like, well, here's your wheelchair. It's busted and we know you can't use it, but have a nice day. And maybe 6 months down the road, we'll pay for some repairs that you may need. Uh, I was very, very heartened by this event.
I think it's important. People wonder why Irena and I go on a long, and this is the second time I think since we've been married that we've gone on a 2 week road trip and why we put ourselves through. I mean, it's it is beautiful to see the country, but it's also exhausting to spend entire days in the car driving across multiple states. I think we did 5 states on Monday alone. It was crazy. But that's why we prefer to drive because we don't run the risk of anything, out being out of our control happening to the things that allow me to be able to move around and her to be able to be functional as well. So
Yeah, we do too. In fact, we were going to go somewhere this weekend, but we canceled it because our visit to the facility last year left us with a few problems like extremely high thresholds and a portable ramp that is entirely too portable. It moves when you get on it. And we decided not to do that again.
yep.
So,
And
so there's plenty of hazards out there.
yeah, and that we ran into that a lot. And there were a lot of places we went to, like, I mean, the House of Seven Gables, not at all accessible. This is a house that was built in the late 1600s. And and it was, and yet they made efforts to ensure that I was able to see what I could access, and they had, video stuff for me to be able to watch what videos of the tours of the areas that I couldn't see while the rest of my group was going up secret stairways to the third floor behind the chimney and stuff. And there's no way that they could make that historical facility or building, that campus, accessible, and yet they managed to get me into more than one of the houses, and it was a really neat experience. So, and then you go other places that should absolutely be accessible, and the housekeepers have put the handheld shower head in the highest position possible where nobody in a wheelchair can ever reach it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting experience. So uh all right. Anything else, Tim, or ready to call on the next person?
No, I'll stop now.
Okay, fair enough. Um Kendall.
Good morning. Guess my biggest just came off an event last night that was pretty successful. Finally getting some uh, integration in the building moving. So we had an event last night with we had board game night for residents and neighborhoods. So we're trying to have uh, inclusive events with both uh, people in the building and some neighborhood people as well. So we had board game. We had 28 people. Um, Very successful event for us. In general, the career exploration group is moving forward. So we're on to our second set of sites. We'll also be working in 6 volunteer sites starting next week and up to 10 uh, soon. So we've got 10 identified. So we're increasing our scope here, helping people have varied experiences as they prepare for um, work and working with their VR staff. Um, those are our biggest news right now. Um, Rob's probably got some things that I would normally talk about, so I'll let him go next.
All right.
And here's Rob. Hey, gang. I'm for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rob Hartman. I'm working with Noble as the business development liaison, and working with some of our programs in employment, specifically our news program, our Noble Employment Workforce Services program. One of our key partners is down here at Lilly, where I am right now, and that's where I've been stationed here for the last couple of weeks primarily. Um, we have been working on a number of things with Lilly and with our news program in trying to not only expand our presence and understanding of the work that we're doing. We have been lucky enough to work with, I see Jamie Olson is on this meeting. We've been lucky enough to work with her recently and utilize the good publication that they're putting together there with Uniquely You, and recently highlighted some of our folks with the news program in those pages here during uh, Disability Employment Awareness Month here in October. Um, and we are really just trying to bolster our programs down here at Lilly and expand the transitional programs. And I won't try to go into the whole spiel about what we do, but for those of you who aren't familiar with what our program is around news, we are really a transitional program that sits in between a pre-ETS program and supported employment or VR, where we have some of our employment consultants, excuse me, that sit here at the actual employer site, and we work on a contract basis. So we're really trying to figure out how to solidify that model with our employee partners and work on those relationships. So, yeah, I think that's the gist of what we've been doing down here. And for this group, I hear some of the things that we've been talking about. I just want to take a minute and say how proud I have become. I've only been working here with Noble for just a couple of months since May. But again, our business partner here at Lilly has been really fantastic. And I have become really proud very quickly of their organization, Lilly's organization, and what they've been doing around um, disability awareness in their organization. Not for us, not for Noble necessarily. We've been lucky enough to be here and be part of that and receive some of that goodwill. But man, they are just doing so much down here around raising awareness for disability, around disability as a element of DEI and belonging. I know we talked a little bit about that. They're doing some things around what they call employee journeys. And it's just really been remarkable to watch and see how they have developed that model and are doing some great things. So just a small little side plug for what they're doing down here. It's some really great stuff. So thanks for having me.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Rob. Curious if you would be able to possibly maybe connect me with whoever is pushing that initiative at Lilly, because I would love to connect with them, talk about what they're doing, and also invite them to participate in what we're doing. So
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Jamie Olson. So it's a treat to have her here on a Thursday. Jamie, would you like to jump in and talk about Uniquely You for a bit?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, good to see you, Rob and Kendall and Jeremy and many of you guys. Glad to be here. I always love when they're not the second Thursday of the month because I run a networking call for the Michigan Uniquely You that I publish. So I'm not always able to attend. So I'm loving this new time here. Works for me. Glad to be a part of it. But I just put in the chat box the lovely article that Rob helped write that we featured 3 individuals in Noble that have found employment in honor of National Employment Disability Awareness Month. So I linked that article in the chat for you guys. And then I'm going to share this, but please don't share it yet. It's only for you guys right now. And then the release of our November issue comes out on November 1st. And then our digital version will be available for anyone to share. But we've worked really closely with Lynn Jones. She's one of our writers. And she worked really closely with the ARC of Indiana. And we actually developed a 6-page waiver update article to just just to get everything out there that's accurate, up to date. And so that is coming out in the November issue. Thankfully, we had Tender Care that actually helped sponsor 150 copies extra, and we're handing them out to all the legislation and the officials in the area, so they'll get a copy of it too. So I put in this is not a digital conversion of the November issue, it's just our PDF version, but at least it has the 6-page waiver update article in there. So you guys get a sneak peek of it before it goes to digital. So feel free to check that out. It's been a phenomenal opportunity. We now have the vision of doing this in 2019. Holy Spirit said one day there'll be one in every major city in the nation. And we are proudly announcing that we brought on Michelle Maxfield to oversee the expansion of Uniquely You nationally. And the first week of November, we have a training, first ever training, and 4 individuals are going to be going through that training to launch a Uniquely You. So we'll have one in Central Texas, we'll have one in Georgia, one in South Carolina, and another in Florida to expand our efforts from our Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio locations. So we're going from 3 to 7 locations, and then January we'll have another training for people that have an interest and would love to bring a Uniquely You to their local city and area. So yeah, keep it in mind if you have people that you know that have a passion for supporting, giving back, making a difference in community, connecting others. Would love to have a conversation. I'm not going to be doing the training part, but I will be helping to coach and mentor and kind of work alongside individuals as they bring Uniquely You to them. So very excited to see the expansion and the impact and the big vision. You know, one day people move and transition and go places and need to find things quickly. And just knowing that we live busy, busy lives and don't always have time to find things and know what's going on. I just received an incredible testimony call from an individual with disabilities here in Indiana a couple months back. And she called me from the library because she doesn't have the affordability for phone. She doesn't have computer, internet, cable. She was expressing to me how she is just tired of playing the same Sudokus and word searches, and that she's made for so much more. But she has to schedule all of her events in advance. And if she doesn't know events and things going on, she can't schedule transportation to plug in and receive support. And I was like, well, we got to add you to the mailing list to make sure that you get a copy of this magazine each month so you know what's going on and can plug in. So, certainly we're so thankful for all the wonderful supporters, Noble on here as well, being involved and helping with these efforts because it's free to the community, but we get charged $8, per copy to print and publish. So we're very proud to be able to mail over 1,200 physical copies to individuals in the area, but we can't wait to get even more out to support individuals with disabilities. So yay, I love it. Love doing Ricky Hall's story. So I put that on there, and I'll also put in, just in case you guys aren't aware or don't know, but we have a new updated link tree since we recently underwent our name change, formerly Special Needs Living, now Uniquely You. We switched that name just because we found that in some states throughout the nation, the term special needs is considered an offensive term. And we never want to publish a magazine that would ever cause offense. So the company redeveloped the new brand to represent, the whole community. Because at the end of the day, we're all unique. We know people that are unique and going through things. So I think they hit the nail on the head when developing the new branding. So the new link I put in the chat there will take you to view all of our past issues. There's some great articles on there, along with several ways for people to, contribute and share stories and be involved. We do have our local events in there, and that's a free resource. So we're publishing. Our next issue will be January. We deadline for that on the 20th of November. So anyone can share with us events they have going on that they want more people in the community to know about. They can share those with us, and we'll add them to our local event section for free, just to bring more awareness to those things. So yeah, if you ever wanted to connect and learn more and see ways we can better support, connect, and impact community, I'm always happy to have a conversation and highlight nonprofits that support those with special needs. We do free stories to highlight them as well. So yeah, keep me in mind if you know of resources that are great to recommend to the community, as we'd love to share them with more people in the community. You might be on mute, Jeremy.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I had to yell at my dog for a moment. So, no, I think that's huge. And I love the rebranding. For folks to get things listed in your events section, is that just a matter of going onto your website and doing it that way, or do they need to email you directly? What's the best?
Yeah, if they just emailed me directly that information, date, time, location, description, and if there's like a link for people to register, we hyperlink all of the events so people can easily click them and access the different pages to register for those. So yes, I put my email in the chat box for anyone that wants to contribute those things. But November 20th is for January, and then with holidays being in December, we push our deadlines 5 days sooner. So December 15th would be for February. And then we go back to the 20th deadline in January for March.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else got any questions? All right. Then I will call on Allison Weimer.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
How you doing? I'm Allison Weimer. I'm the program manager for the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities. If you haven't met me before. Um, so some things that have been going on with GCPD, well, specifically me, it's interesting you talked about the whole ADA and American Airlines thing. I was actually at the conference for I'm getting certified as an ADA coordinator. So I was at the conference up in Madison this week. Excuse me. And we had to take American because it really is the easiest airline in terms of figuring out Apple. If you don't know, I have a service dog, and she is not a small service dog. I don't even know. I know I've met too many small service dogs, but she is a standard poodle, and so she is rather large. But they have like a number that that is registered, and then you just type in the number, and then it's just easy. And then they already have my DOT transportation form, so it just makes it like streamlined, a bit more streamlined. I've also flown Delta, but it's just been more of a hassle with Delta, and I've also gotten like pushback from flight attendants and stuff like that. So, anyways, I digress. One of the things that it was like, because even though I was going to an ADA conference, it is so difficult to fly if you have mobility aids, if you have a service animal, because even though they accommodate you, they're not really accommodating you. And what they expect is that service dogs are at the very front of your feet, that they're like in this tiny little space, that they can make themselves really, really small, and in this tiny little space at your feet. Well, in coach, that makes it, there's absolutely no room for anything. There's hardly any room for feet. So to fit a service animal is like almost impossible. And it depends on the plane. If they usually seat me at the front where I have like some room, but not in first class, but in the very front behind first class. But in the smaller planes, there's absolutely no room. And then always, it's a fully booked flight. They always seat somebody next to me. The person is never informed that I have a service animal. It's always an issue with them. It's just such a hassle to fly. And it just made me like, it's so frustrating because I have to like squish her underneath. She can't do any of her job. If I ever had a seizure or a cardiac event or anything like that, she wouldn't be able to alert me because she can hardly move down there. So it really isn't like, I can't use her. She can't do her job while we're on a plane. And, if we're on a plane for a considerable amount of time, that is a concern. So I was looking up the regulations, and it seems like there are different regulations for airlines than there are for the rest of the world, which is absolutely ridiculous. I realize they're a private airline, but the more I learn about the ADA, the more I feel like things need to be improved on in terms of access, because there's just too much leeway for businesses to not do enough. If businesses want to do enough, they have to keep up with it. If they don't want to do enough, they don't have to. And I just feel like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. How are we being accessible for people with disabilities if if you don't even have to, it's just like bare minimum stuff. You're not allowing people with disabilities to access the community. So, I mean, the fact that I can't even sit, I mean, it's so difficult for me and Apple to sit in a regular seat and have her be able to work efficiently. Really brings to light that, there's absolutely no room for a person with any kind of mobility needs. It boggles my mind that buses have accessibility and have room to accommodate for a motorized wheelchair, yet a airplane does not. I feel like there's so much that needs to be talked about. And I think that the American, lawsuit is a great step in the right direction, but I don't feel like it is the end all. I feel like that is just the beginning of the conversation. So, anyways, it's just, I was sending pictures of Apple all squished down in front of me to my family, and they were so upset. They were like, they wanted to write corporate, and I was like, there's really nothing you can do. The law is that she has to be able to fit underneath my feet. So yeah, that's just the way it is. You're muted, Jeremy.
Sorry, there were loud birds that time. So is that when you say that the law says that she has to be able to fit right in front of your feet or underneath your feet, is that the Air Carrier Access Act that says?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's correct.
So is the alternative then that you would have to buy an extra seat for her? Or yes, there's Apple.
Yeah, she's tasking. No, you don't have to buy an extra seat. You can. And I know I've read where people actually have in order to accommodate for their service animal, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I agree.
Because, she is a needed aid. She's not a pet. She's not, I have my retired service dog and my current service dog tasking on me right now. It's a lot. So yeah, it's not it shouldn't have to be that a person buys an extra seat. There have been times where we've been on airplanes and it hasn't been full, and they've been able to like switch my seat so that there's an empty seat so she can sit next to me. But usually it's at the back of the plane. Then it becomes like kind of a hassle for us to get out, and then we have to move around. I try to do priority boarding so that I can get there early and I can get her settled in. It's such a hassle. And then, it's just, I always get the people that are like, oh, a dog. I didn't know there was going to be a dog sitting next to me.
Right. And there is a lot of education and a lot of stuff that the airline could do to help make that a better experience for everybody.
Right.
So yes, and you're right. We are still just at the start. And I think it's interesting when we talk about the ADA, we talk about the Air Carrier Access Act, those things. The places that those mandated needed to make changes treated it like, okay, we've done this, now we're good, instead of recognizing that it was the starting line for making our society more inclusive. And that's when we talk about the accessible, like my approach being the accessible DEI and the sense of belonging that comes from that being about, it's not just about the law, it's about making certain that people are able to function in society, continue to access your shop, your airline, your bus, whatever it is, participate as consumers, also as employees, it being Disability Employment Awareness Month. As I traveled around the country, checking in at multiple different, the eastern part of the country, checking in multiple different hotels. I every single hotel I went to, the person checking me in had to stand up and was standing for their entire shift. The front desks are never built for somebody with a wheelchair to be able to work from the other side of the desk. And every lowered check-in area was used as a point of sale display instead of being functional for a person with a wheelchair to check in without having to reach up to deal with the credit cards and whatever else. It astounds me. So, and I know I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Allison, anything else you want to add, or shall we move on to the next person?
This is our federal reporting time, so there's not a whole lot else going on. I know I talked about our projects earlier, but they're kind of in a holding pattern right now until the end of the year when we finish our reporting, and then I'll have lots more to talk about in January.
Okay, very good. All right. So, and I keep forgetting to mention it. Please do use the chat to put your contact info in and anything that you want shared out with everybody after the fact, because I will email that along with the info for next month. So, all right. I am going to call on Missy Bollinger. Did I pronounce that right? Give it a moment. All right. Heather Wildrick Holman, how are you?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm doing well. I have some updates from Firefly, but before I jumped into that, I didn't know if this is the proper space to ask. But I learned last night on a podcast I was listening to about something called Project Lifesaver. I did a quick Google search and found it sounds like it can be accessed predominantly through the fire department, but um, I know it's a little outside the scope of what we talk about in this group, but if anyone had any kind of insight or like a contact I could connect to about Project Lifesaver, it is for lack of a better word, it sounds like it's a tracking tool that it can be utilized for folks that may tend to wander or leave with no knowledge of, whether it be someone with dementia or an individual with autism. So, like I said, it was just a new resource that was new to me as of last night. So I'd love to know if anybody's aware of that. It could tell me more.
Hey, Heather, I can
yeah.
definitely share some stuff. My son Jordan is 12, severely autistic, and an eloper. And we got Project Lifesaver probably over 2 years ago through our local fire department. They have grants available, and then they come out and set it up, and each person gets their own frequency number. And then every 2 months, they actually come back out and replace the battery that's in it. But he just wears it on his ankle daily, and just for extra peace of mind in case he does run away or the door's left open from one of his sisters and he runs out the front door. Like, thankfully, he's not escaping as far as he used to, and he'll actually come when we call his name. But yeah, it just for us has been such a peace of mind. And the fire department, most local fire departments have the Project Lifesaver program. So you would just contact your local county fire department and reach out, and they'll connect you to the right person.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was hopeful that someone maybe on this call would have some info. But yeah, so I'm Heather Wildrick Coleman. I'm with Community Partners for Child Safety, a prevention program of Firefly, specifically serving Marion County. All counties within Indiana do have a community partners program. Always happy to share that map if needed. But I'll start just generally with some updates from Firefly I wanted to share in this space and kind of dig down into more of the weeds of community partners. So we continue to update and expand our shelter with that funding from the Lilly Endowment and from United Way, just making it more inclusive, more adaptable to the needs of the various kiddos that we serve. So we're excited about that. through our VP of DEI, Michelle Williams, we have integrated community norms throughout the agency, which we're just really excited about getting, the buy-in from everyone. She continues to put on great programming for staff. Specifically, one that I really wanted to highlight is just really diving in and examining psychological safety in the workplace. And I'm just really excited about the things that Michelle continues to bring to our organization. It's a Domestic Violence Awareness Month. There are so many things I know we recognize in the month of October, but we are highlighting that on our various social media outlets and getting the word out about. We celebrated Wear Purple Day last week, and just really getting the word out about resources for survivors and safety planning and all of that. One thing to note, Firefly is a provider of victim/survivor services, but we also were what used to be called BIP programs, batterer intervention programs, and they have since changed the acronym. I just learned about this on Tuesday. And I think that was probably a needed change. I will share it and I will update it once it comes to me, but it's now AID. Anyway, the acronym has definitely changed, and it sounds like that was probably very needed. But something just for folks to note if you weren't already aware. Our outpatient services have really expanded. We were really operating from a place where I personally didn't even like to refer folks to our outpatient services, our therapy and substance use and all of that, because we just had such a ridiculous wait list, as many other mental health providers have. But we have hired new folks, and we are just really signal boosting those outpatient services. So if you know of anybody that might be interested, send them Firefly's way. And then last but not least, community partner updates. We had a phenomenal meeting with the Chin Community Center of Indiana, and we just continue to find this as we work with our multilingual community partners that whether it was working with some folks working predominantly with Haitian Creole, and then now with our Burmese community members, there's the literacy level is just not tremendously high in these populations. And so I find both Firefly and other community partners have been spinning our wheels, translating a lot of our documents. And while that's not done in vain and it's not important to have documents available in folks' language, they're telling us, though, if you just hand a pamphlet or hand something, it's just so anyway, that communication ended up being that they really are strongly encouraging us to record. We do have staff that speak Haitian Creole, Burmese, Pashto, Farsi, French, and to record our child safety information. And so we're working on taking a look at what are those high priority child safety, family friendly information that needs to be disseminated. And we're going to work with the Chin community of Indiana to disseminate that. They said their reach is usually typically over 1,000 when they post those recordings. So but those are some of the updates I just wanted to give. I didn't want to be too long-winded, but always glad to be in this space and to always gather such great information from you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And no, that's all great information. And thank you for introducing us to a new resource that I had not heard of either. So this is always the place to not question whether or not it's going to fit and just bring it up. So
awesome. Well, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. Morella Dominguez, would you like to say hello?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was finishing another meeting. I don't know if everybody can see me now. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I need to calm down. Good morning, everyone. Yes, here at Shalom, we are. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's a little bit. Okay.
There you go.
Targeting right now a lot of the issues with the respiratory diseases that are coming, on this time of the year, especially with the RSV and the flu and COVID still is arising. And we are doing a lot of education around that and be sure that people get the vaccines, especially in this time of the year. And we see a lot of patients with those issues as we speak. So I just want to mention that because I know a lot of people think that COVID is gone, but it's not. It's coming usually, around this time of the year is when it's more prevalent. So we encourage everyone to get the vaccine here at the clinic, especially, patients that are in high risk. Other than that, we are also partnership with other entities, with talking about the importance of preventive care. We see a lot of the community that do not have access to healthcare because there's many issues around that. So those barriers, we're trying to talk to them and be sure that people know the importance of preventive care, know their numbers. Regarding diabetes, we have a high incidence patient also with diabetes, hypertension, especially, believe it or not, with the HIV and STDs. So we are very proactive in talking about all that and do a lot of seminars, education, prevention around those topics, and that there is resources where people can go, not just Shalom, so many others that they can go for in a very affordable way and be able to have access to healthcare that is, affordable and patient-centered. So I just want to mention that. And thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled to see you with us today. So it's
Thank you.
a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, our pleasure. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah. What geographic area do you serve, or is it limited?
At Shalom? Yeah, we serve, no, mainly Marion County. We are located on the west side of the city. So we have 3 clinics, one at 34 Lafayette Road, one at 56 and Lafayette Road, and we just opened one in Meridian and 91st and Meridian. We have a lot of Burmese community in the Nora area. Now that Heather mentioned that, yes, we seeing a lot of patient Burmese community in that location. So yes, this is the area where we are located, but it's not limited to that area. Anybody from other regions can come to Shalom. There is no problem. There is no limited on we have to be in Marion County specific. Anybody else? Sometimes we have patients from Avon, from Lebanon, from Seymour, Indiana, Columbus, yeah, you name it. But yeah, we are mainly in the west side of the Marion County right now.
Very
Thanks.
Good. Thank you. All right. Let's see. I believe, Shalicia Howard from Caresource. You want to jump in?
Hey, yeah, of course. First, I would like to say it was great to see you in person at the Independent Indiana conference. I feel like, sometimes it's rare that you come across community partners in person. Let's see, just to piggyback off of a few things that I heard that were interesting to me. So, of course, Caresource, we are statewide and we're in multiple states. But we've been maintaining a strong presence in the Chin community, in the Burmese community, for the last couple years. And so we do a lot with the Chin Baptist Church, as well as a few other, there's a Burmese coalition on the south side that is looking to partner with whomever, because they said that their community is moving to the north side, is starting to increase rapidly on the north side of Indianapolis and in the Carmel area. So they're looking to partner with more people for that. So I go to the Indy Resilience Coalition meetings as well. And then, of course, I partner with the Haitian Association of Indiana, and they have, I believe, 5 locations around the state, but their headquarters is here. And they also have locations in a few other states as well. But it was last year that I learned that Indiana is the second popular state for Haitian immigrants Florida being number one, and Indiana coming in a close second. And that was before everything with the hurricanes and all the detrimental things that have taken place. So the population here is growing very quickly. So we do have materials in Creole and in a few of the Burmese or the Chin dialects, as well as a few other languages as well. We are expanding so we do have an employer resources and a reentry program for our members. And so we've been doing a lot more in those areas with our employer partners across the state. But one of our main focuses going into this next year, we used to have a DSNP plan, and that's the dual, what was called the dual and, special needs. But I do believe that we are doing more in those areas again, and in trying to make sure that there are as little barriers as possible for our members that experience day-to-day challenges and things like that. So I'm just looking forward to all the new stuff, and then still trying to keep a hold of all the chaotic things that we already deal with on a daily basis. But yeah, I'm just, this year has gone by extremely quickly. And so there was a moment where I felt like it was dragging, and that was all for about 2 to 3 weeks this year. And then all of a sudden it just sped up, and I'm like, here we are at the end of October, like it'll be November in a few days. And I'm looking forward to the next year. But we still got to put a lid on some things for this year. So if anybody has anything that they need to reach out about, or anybody has anything that we can help with at Caresource, we do have a foundation as well. So so reach out to me, all that good stuff. Jeremy, I always love hearing what you have to say. Adam was very excited to meet you at the conference.
Oh, cool.
One of my coworkers, and so he and I swapped off this morning because we had an internal meeting. So he will probably more than likely be in next month's meeting as well. But I appreciate everything that you do. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here and continuing to support the network. It was a pleasure to meet you in person as well. That was a nice surprise. And as that happened at the Independence Indiana conference, that brings us to Sonia Eisenhart from accessABILITY, who accessABILITY was the driving force behind that conference, I believe. So,
hi. So I'm Sonia Eisenhart, and I am with accessABILITY. I am an advocate here. And we are an independent living center for those with disability, helping, supporting, advocating for independence. I do want to say thank you, Jeremy, for the training that you did for us. The training could have been an all-day training. There was a lot there, and thank you for that. And so if any of you on here I was interested in that, I highly recommend it. It was very informative.
Thank you.
Yes, like I said, there was just a lot to unpack, and it could have been an all day. So we did come off of the conference. We're getting ready to do a breakfast benefit for accessABILITY that's coming up in November. I think registration is already, today was the last day, or yesterday, I think it actually. But I want to highlight really quick, because I'm running out of time. We have several support groups that we have at accessABILITY that's free to all. And that's our DisQueer, Neurodivergent, our amputee support group that Jeremy runs, families of visually impaired individuals support group, a spinal cord injury support group. We do have a Spanish Zumba fitness group, and then new, and one that I'm leading with my coworker Rita, is the financial wellness work group. and I've linked the Eventbrite in the chat for that group. It's new. It seems to be going very well. And we would like to have more participants for it. And what it is we are using the FDIC website for it, and it is geared for those with disability. So it talks about ABLE accounts. The FDIC has got gaming that we do, and it's inclusive. It shows individuals that have different disabilities, and we talk about those scenarios and what would work best. The other that we use is Michigan University. They came up with the plan, so we toggle back between them. And it is just for individuals to become more comfortable in knowing their finances and what is available out there for them.
Okay. Sonia, I'm not seeing that link in the chat.
To one person, I did.
You sent it to
I keep doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who I sent that to.
Very
so
good.
hang on here.
Thanks, Jamie, for joining us. All right. Yes, so please get that in there before we wrap up. Anybody have any other questions for Sonia that they want to throw in there? I will add that the amputee support group that she mentioned meets on the fourth Tuesday of every month. It has been a hybrid group. However, starting in November, and we didn't meet in October because I was out of town and we haven't been that active. Starting in November, we are going fully virtual. So please, if anybody knows any amputees who are looking to connect with others, and just whether it's learning about different types of prosthetics or answering questions about how you reach things that are ridiculously out of reach, or how to be careful when doing other things, as I bruised a couple ribs trying to pick a receipt up off the floor. So that should not cause that damage, but it did. Yeah, so that will be virtual. You can find the link to that either on walkingspirit.org's events page, or I believe there is also a link on accessABILITY's event or community calendar page, I believe. Is that the right thing to call it, or event calendar?
I think it's our events page as well.
Yeah. So,
but we're having issues with the our website. It's not posting, so there's several of our support groups that aren't on there, and we don't know why. But anyway, we're working on it.
Okay. I am sorry to say that I missed calling on the people from ChildCare Answers who were on earlier, and then Missy Bollinger, who I had called on. I don't remember what group she is with, unfortunately, off the top of my head, but she made a comment in the chat that she was having audio issues. So that would be why she didn't join in. Anybody got anything that they want to throw in we are actually 3 minutes over. So thank you all for joining us. If anybody has any last minute comments, feel free to jump in or go about your day. It's a pleasure seeing you. Next month we'll be on a different date. I'm thinking the third Tuesday of the month. Same thing for December. I want to stay away from Thanksgiving and I want to stay away from Christmas. So, hope to see all of you either next month or December before the end of the year. So be well.
Thanks. See you then.
Thank you.